Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so this chapter will focus mostly on action, didn't do much really to progress the story along, which is fine, it's fine. I mean, we've had like, what, five, six, 7 chapters straight where the story progressed and we completely changed everything. We could take a few chapters where we're just basically focusing on fights and action. And the action in this chapter is actually really amazing, especially the second half of the chapter. Basically, the entire time after I got done reading this, I was thinking to myself, I cannot wait for the anime to catch up to this point because this will be an amazing fight to see animated. But yeah, it also I want to mention it also kind of seems like that Tabata kind of taking a chance now that we taking a second to go away from the story, and focus more on action, and he's taking advantage of the fact that we're kind of moving away from Patri being the main villain because he's been the main villain for a while now for this entire arc. Over to the devil, who we found out about like 4 or 5 chapters ago, is the actual villain for the arc, and he's taking a chance to basically take Patri out of the equation by setting up for throwing him into the fights that we've kind of been foreshadowing for a while now. And one of those fights is obviously the fight between him and Nozel, which is actually I want to say it's been foreshadowed since like chapter 52, something around there. We've been foreshadowing the fight between these two characters, especially since Nozel kind of wants to get revenge for what Patri did to Fugoyan. So yeah, we're finally getting the fight between the two of them, which is actually pretty interesting. It's actually this part of the chapter when Nozel shows up and actually saves Asta and and actually goes on the offensive against Patri is pretty much just set up showing off exactly how powerful and how skilled Nozel actually is. Like they do a quick description of what his Mercury magic is really capable of, and the fact that he can switch easily between offense and defense makes it so that he's very suitable to fight most opponents, even ones that he's weak against. Which, by the way, they show a little glimpse of Fugoyan when he's mentioned the fact that he trained himself to fight against people whose attributes are stronger against him. And you know what? I felt like that moment, in fact, this entire chapter overall, was kind of a good way for us to get to know more about Nozel. Because besides those chapters where he was teaming up with Noel against that one elf, we didn't really have throughout the entire series that much character development for him. He's kind of basically been the same stoic, badass, kind of distant character towards everyone. And we got sprinkles here and there of character development for him, like finding out that he is kind of like a friendly rivalry, kind of the same way that Asta and Yuno have. He has the same kind of thing with Fugoyan. So it was kind of interesting finding out about that early on in the series. But other than that, we didn't really know that much about him until we got to those chapters where with Noel. And then in this chapter, we get to see a little bit more about him. We get to see him open up a little bit more. We even have at the end of the chapter when he finally defeats or seemingly defeats Patri. We have him turn to Asta and and he basically proclaims that they're kind of his rivals. Like he kind of sees them as rivals now because of the fact that he proclaims that they're not going to be the ones to become Magic Emperor. He is. So it's kind of like him opening up. He's not as much of a hard ass as he was in the beginning of the series. It seems like he's going to be kind of more. He's not going to be friendly, but he's going to be friendlier to all the other characters throughout the rest of the series now. But yeah, getting back to the fight between him and Patri, pretty much the second Nozel steps on the field, he kind of decimates against Patri, which is pretty cool. At the same time, when I was reading this, I had to think to myself, where was all this when you and Noel were teaming up and you kind of almost died? Like I at first I was thinking, all right, if you could do all this, then how did you have any trouble against that one elf? I mean, she was just basically fodder compared to Patri. But then I had to remind myself, it's not about the fact that she was weaker than Patri. It's about her own personal abilities, which basically her ability was very much a counter to Nozel, and especially a counter to Noel, because of the fact that her ability basically got rid of all mana control, and that's something that Nozel heavily focuses on with his attacks. He has to be able to control his mana very finely. Because, like I said in this chapter, he is able to switch back and forth between attack and defense very easily. And in order to do something like that, you would really need to be able to control your mana precisely in a moment's notice. So, someone who has an ability to basically disrupt that mana control would be, someone that you would struggle against. So I had, after thinking about it for a second, I had to give him I had to give him the benefit of the doubt for that fight. Now, the beginning of the chapter is pretty much continuing the fight between Patri, Asta, and and it really takes all Asta and Yuno's combined efforts just to block that one attack from Patri. And ultimately, them blocking the attack didn't really do anything. It didn't. When they sent it back, it didn't really hurt Patri. It basically drained all Asta's energy, so he lost his black form. And unless I'm miscounting, I'm pretty sure this is his second time activating it since he's gotten healed by Mimosa when he entered the castle. So until she heals him again, which obviously she's going to end up doing because and Asta have to go up against the demon again, he's kind of out of the fight, which is a good thing because now that he's out of the fight, we can give him and the back seat and let other people fight off against Patri, like I said with Nozel. And obviously the fight between Nozel and Patri, even though it kind of ends in a way where Nozel is obviously on top, the fight's not gonna be over just yet because we already know that Yami's on his way, and we had to find some way to incorporate Valtos and Rades into the fight as well, since they can get their revenge in a sense. But yeah, it's pretty much all that happens in the chapter. Now I do want to kind of mention this chapter is a great example of power levels in this entire series, which we don't really have power levels being a thing in the series. Like we don't really have a set power level. Like if you look at a series like One Piece, you have power level sets because you got Yonko Commander, you got Yonko, you got Shikikubai. Basically, you got all these kind of like power levels that are already established and set up in the series. But Black Clover doesn't really have that. We have captain and vice captain level, and I guess Magic Emperor on top of that. But we don't really have anything below that to rank people with. Like, if I was, because we do have ranks inside the Magic Knight order, but the ranks aren't determined by your strength and skill and your battle prowess. They're basically determined by your like the missions you complete and how well you do on the missions. Like basically what type of missions you take on. There's really nothing that kind of determines where you're at battle wise. I've seen some fans online kind of come up with their own kind of power level scaling when they're talking about the series. I've seen some stuff kind of like mountain level and town level. Basically, if a character is able to destroy an entire mountain, or if they can actually destroy an entire town with a single attack, something like that. But that's not something that's actually an official power scaling for the series. So I kind of just go off of the whole vice captain, captain, and magic emperor level kind of power scaling. And this chapter kind of just completely showed that despite people saying that Asta, Yuno, and Noel are kind of, well, I can't really speak on Noel in this chapter yet. But yeah, this chapter showed that basically Asta and Yuno, despite how powerful they've become throughout the series, they are still nowhere near captain level. Because in this chapter alone, we see the two of them struggle. In fact, in the last chapter, on top of that, we see them struggle against Patri in this new evolved form. He's more powerful than he's ever been. And we see the two of them are struggling to keep up with him and to fight him. But as soon as Nozel gets here, as soon as Nozel steps onto the scene, we don't see him struggle at all. He basically plays around with Patri throughout the entire chapter. And if you really think about it throughout the series, we haven't seen captain level people like Nozel, Yami, or anyone really struggle against opponents unless they are fighting someone equally on par or someone at captain level. Like for example, the fight between Yami and Patri when they first fought all those chapters ago, back like chapter 40 something, 49, 48, something around there. When they fought, they were kind of on equal level because of the fact that Patri does have the power level of a Magic Knight captain, especially since he shares a body with a Magic Knight captain. Fugoyan, we've only ever seen Fugoyan struggle against a captain level opponent basically when it was him fighting against Kaiser a few chapters ago. And the only time we actually ever seen Fugoyan get defeated was when he got a sneak attacked by Patri, like in chapter, I want to say like chapter 20, something like that, somewhere around there. Basically, all those chapters ago, that's the only time we actually ever seen him be defeated, and that's against another captain level opponent who had, in order to defeat him, to use a sneak attack. Now, we have seen captains actually lose fights, for example, Mario Leona and Nozel, but those are kind of special occasions. I mean, we got Mario Leona, she goes up against Raya, who could be potentially near captain level when it comes to power or when it comes to abilities, and also 5 other elves at the same time. So it's understandable that she would lose that fight, even though she did kind of push them to their limits. They had to pull out all their defenses in order to survive her final attack. So even then, it was still a close fight. And then when it comes to Nozel, even though he technically did lose against that one elf where he teamed up with Noel to fight against, he really only lost against her because he let his guard down. He thought he actually had defeated her, and she got him with a sneak attack. Even in that fight when he couldn't control his mana as well as he usually does, he still very easily defeated her initially. She did get back up and sneak attack him, but he initially defeated her. And if he didn't let his guard down, he would have still probably defeated her again. So yeah, like I said, this chapter does basically focus on or basically highlight the fact that Asta and Yuno aren't on captain level just yet, despite how many people actually want to claim that they are. Maybe, I don't even want to put them at vice captain level just yet. Maybe low tier vice captain level, and the only reason why I say that is because of the fact that we know that Yuki wants Black Clover to become like a sprawling epic the same way One Piece has become. And if that's the case, at 199 chapters in, there's no way we can actually see Yuno and Asta be at captain level just yet. I mean, because if they are, then there's really nothing for them to build up to besides becoming Magic Emperor level. Which, if that's the only hurdle they had to get to, that kind of makes me lose interest in their characters and actually want to focus more on developing the other characters besides them, which is sad because they are the two main characters. So yeah, having them at below vice captain level gives them stuff to build up to, gives them strengths to overcome or like an accomplish. But I do want to throw one caveat in there. Even though I do kind of say that this chapter shows exactly how much of a difference there is between Nozel and Aston Yuno based on the power level scaling, based on like where Aston Yuno are and where a captain should be, it's not really that fair to compare them, especially in the chapter because obviously Nozel's abilities are kind of well suited for Patri's element since he uses light magic, and it's obvious that Patri or that Nozel developed that magic that he used at the end of the chapter, which was basically a spear of mirrors, kind of using his silver magic or his mercury magic. It's kind of obvious that that spell was trained and developed specifically to fight someone like Patri who uses light magic, because it's really wouldn't be useful against anyone else. I mean, sure, it'll be useful as a trap, but when it comes to basically deflecting attacks back, that's only useful against someone who uses light magic. So yeah, and he's kind of trained specifically to fight Patri, but at the same time, you get what I'm saying. Like, this is basically showing off exactly how much of a difference there is power-wise between the characters. But that'll pretty much do it for me for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below with your thoughts and theories on the chapter and what I had to say about it. And follow me on Twitter at Manga Archives. But that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you later. Oh, I just want to mention, sorry this video's coming out so late. I kind of got my work schedule changed around for this week, so yeah. It shouldn't happen again next week, but hopefully it doesn't. Anyway, that's it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.